Imagine walking into a room filled with people and saying 5 words that would make every single person there recoil in horror. 5 words that break the ultimate social contract. I'm glad my mom died. It sounds like the opening line of a villain's origin story, doesn't it? In our culture, the mother-daughter bond is treated as something sacred, something untouchable. We're taught that a mother's love is always unconditional, and that losing her is the ultimate tragedy. But what happens when that love is actually a cage? What happens when the person who is supposed to be your greatest protector is actually the one you need protection from? Jennette McCurdy's memoir isn't just a book about a former Nickelodeon star. It's a brutal, darkly funny, and deeply uncomfortable autopsy of a relationship that was built on a foundation of control and performance. Today we're looking at why this book resonated so deeply with millions, and why the title, as shocking as it is, might be the most honest thing Jennette McCurdy has ever written. We aren't just summarizing a life story. We're analyzing the mechanics of enmeshment, the cost of living, someone else's dream, and the radical, terrifying freedom that comes with speaking the unspeakable. Imagine you're standing in a spotlight. It's blindingly bright, and you can't see the audience, but you can feel their eyes. Behind you, there's a shadow pulling the strings. You aren't a person, you're a project. This brings us to our first major idea, the illusion of mother knows best. In this book, Jennette McCurdy describes a childhood that wasn't a childhood at all. It was a long-term audition. Her mother, Debra, didn't just want her daughter to be a star. She wanted to live through her. This is what psychologists call enmeshment, where the boundaries between two people become so blurred that one person's identity is completely swallowed by the other. In McCurdy's world, every smile, every outfit, and even every calorie was moderated by her mother. Imagine a house where the doors don't have locks, and your most private thoughts are treated as shared property. This book highlights a terrifying reality. When a parent views their child as an extension of themselves, rather than a separate human being, the child never learns how to exist on their own. Jennette wasn't acting because she loved the craft. She was acting because her mother's happiness was the only currency she had to buy safety in her own home. It's a powerful reminder that dedication from a parent can often be a polite mask for obsession. Moving into the second big idea, we have to talk about the body as a battlefield. One of the most harrowing parts of this book is how Jennette describes the onset of her eating disorder. But she doesn't frame it as a simple quest for thinness. Instead, it's presented as a gift from her mother. When Jennette started going through puberty, a natural process that threatened her career as a young-looking actress, her mother introduced her to calorie restriction. Imagine being told that the key to staying loved is to stop growing. In McCurdy's narrative, the eating disorder became a secret language between her and her mother. It was a way to stay small, to stay hers. This book exposes how trauma can be disguised as a special secret or a shared goal. The author uses metaphors of being a perpetual child, frozen in time, to satisfy the needs of an adult who couldn't find her own success. It's a chilling look at how we can be conditioned to destroy ourselves if we believe it will make the people we love proud of us. Then, there's the third major lesson, the Nickelodeon meat grinder and the golden handcuffs. While the world saw a spunky, funny girl on iCarly, Jennette was living in a state of constant high alert. She describes the environment of children's television not as a playground, but as a factory. This book critiques the industry's role as a silent partner in her abuse. Think of a bright, colorful set that's actually a pressure cooker. The industry, represented in the book by a figure she calls the creator, rewarded her for being easy to work with and compliant. What this book gets so right is the analysis of how professional success can be used to gaslight a victim. How can you be suffering when you're on the cover of magazines? How can your life be bad when you're making millions? McCurdy shows us that the golden handcuffs are real. Every paycheck was another reason to keep the secret, and every fan encounter was a reminder that she belonged to everyone except herself. The book forces us to look at the child star trope through a much darker lens, not as a story of too much soon, but as a story of systemic exploitation, where the adults in the room are often the biggest predators. Now, let's get into the critique, the transformative core of why this book is more than just a tell-all. Some critics might argue that the title is clickbait, or that the book is too cynical. But that's missing the point. The transformative value of "I'm glad my mom died" lies in its refusal to offer a fake happy ending. Most memoirs follow a predictable arc: struggle, success, and then a peaceful resolution with the past. McCurdy rejects this. She doesn't forgive her mother in the traditional sense, because forgiveness requires an apology that her mother was never capable of giving. What this book gets right is the validation of negative emotions. It challenges the toxic positivity that tells us we must love our family regardless of how they treat us. The critique here is directed at society's discomfort with complicated grief. We are okay with people being sad when their parents die, but we are terrified of people being relieved. By writing this, Jennette McCurdy has given a voice to everyone who has felt a sense of freedom after the death of a toxic person. It's a radical act of truth, telling that prioritizes the victim's reality over the perpetrator's reputation. Where the book might feel lacking to some is in its pacing toward the end. The recovery process, the therapy, the relapse, the slow rebuilding of a self, feels much more compressed than the trauma itself. But perhaps that's intentional. Healing is a slow, boring, repetitive process compared to the explosive drama of a Hollywood childhood. It's a quiet victory. And while it might not make for the same edge-of-your-seat reading as the chapters about her mother's outbursts, it's the most important part of the journey. So, what is the personal verdict? This book is a mandatory read, not just for fans of pop culture, but for anyone interested in the psychology of boundaries and the long shadow of childhood trauma. It's for the people who have been told they are difficult for setting boundaries, and for those who are tired of pretending that everything is fine. Jennette McCurdy isn't just a survivor, she's a master of her own narrative. She took the script that was written for her, and she set it on fire. The final, actionable step you can take today. Take a look at your own life and identify one should. Something you do because you feel you should, because someone else expects it, or because you're afraid of what people will think if you stop. Now ask yourself, who am I doing this for? If the answer isn't me, then it's time to start writing your own script. You don't have to wait for someone to pass away to start living for yourself. You can choose to be the lead actor in your own life right now. Thank you for staying on this chapter to the end. This was a deep dive into one of the most significant memoirs of the decade. And I hope it gave you some perspective on the complexity of family, fame, and the courage it takes to be honest. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more deep dives into the books that are changing the way we see the world, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss new episodes. Until next time, remember, your story belongs to you. See you in the next one.